The story begins on a humid Sunday afternoon in a sleepy barangay tucked between the mountains and the sea, the kind of place where time moves slowly, where the loudest sound is the rustling of coconut leaves and the thump of a fisherman's slippers on the wooden pier. Life here was simple, hard, honest. People fought their battles quietly, with smiles, with faith, with patience. And among all the routines, the hauling of nets, the chopping of vegetables at the market stalls, the bending over muddy rice fields, there was one small miracle that people never talked about openly. The adults of this barangay could sing, not in the trained, polished choir school way. No, this was different. This was the sound of people who lived close to the earth, whose throats tasted salt from the sea and smoke from the kusina, whose lungs filled with air that carried both hardship and hope. Their voices were raw, warm, cracked, wounded, healing, all at the same time. It began with only 5 people. Mang Tiru the fisherman, whose toned arms could pull a full net alone, but whose voice softened the moment he sang. Aling Beth, the public market vendor whose laugh could fill the entire place, but whose singing sounded like a mother comforting a child. Lando, the tricycle driver who learned to sing just to stay awake during long night shifts. Rosa, a rice farmer who hummed Kundaman songs under the sun so she wouldn't feel lonely. And lastly, there was Ernesto, a man who many said was born with a radio in his chest. His low, deep voice was the soul of every barangay fiesta. They were ordinary, invisible, unnoticed by the world, except by each other. One stormy season, when work became scarce and spirits were low, the barangay captain asked if anyone wanted to form a small singing group for the town's upcoming fiesta. Just something simple, something cheerful to lift everyone's mood. Nobody expected anything extraordinary. It was just a barangay choir. Something for fun. Something to distract them from the daily grind. But the moment they sang together for the first time, something shifted in the air. Inside the barangay hall, with its flickering lights, plastic chairs, and old electric fans, 5 adult voices rose in harmony. There was nothing professional about it. No musical director, no sheet music, no warm-ups, and yet their voices blended like they had been waiting for this moment all their lives. Like every heartbreak, every sacrifice, every unseen struggle had prepared them for this one sound. When they finished, there was silence, not because it was bad, but because everyone had goosebumps. Singing became their escape. Every Sunday, after long shifts under the sun, they gathered in the barangay hall. Slowly, more neighbors joined. A jeepney driver, a sari-sari store owner, a retired teacher, a fisherman's wife, a construction worker. Before they knew it, the choir had grown to almost 20 adults, each carrying a life story heavier than mere voice. They didn't dream of fame. They just wanted to feel human again, to feel seen, to breathe, to belong. Then one day, a Balikbayan visitor arrived, a young filmmaker from Germany named Adrian. He was visiting relatives and happened to hear the choir rehearsing while walking home from the pier. Their voices echoed across the water, making him stop in his tracks. He followed the sound like someone hypnotized. Inside the barangay hall, he watched them sing Anak, 20 ordinary adults blending into something extraordinary. His eyes welled with tears. He had been creating documentaries for years, but he had never heard anything like this. No auto-tune, no studio, just truth. After the rehearsal, he approached them shyly and asked, in a slightly broken Filipino, if he could film one of their practice sessions. The choir exchanged awkward, embarrassed glances. Some laughed nervously. Others shook their heads. They were shy. None of them had ever been interviewed, much less filmed. But after some convincing and a promise that the video would never embarrass them, they agreed. The following Sunday, Adrian set up a single camera and a microphone borrowed from his cousin. He filmed the choir singing 3 songs, Bahikeo, Dahil Sayo, and the prayer. The barangay hall was hot. The electric fans were loud, and the lighting was terrible. But the voices were magic. After filming, Adrian hugged them and told them he would edit everything and show it to them the next week. They thanked him, but didn't think much of it. Life returned to normal. Fishing, farming, driving, selling, surviving. Then something unexpected happened. One night, after finishing the edit, Adrian uploaded one of the recordings to his private Vimeo account so he could test it on a bigger screen. But in a moment of tiredness and mistake, he clicked public. He slept without realizing anything. The next morning, he woke up to 300,000 views. By the afternoon, it was at 1 million. By midnight to 3.5 million. And the comments, they came from everywhere. Spain, Belgium, Sweden, France, Italy. People saying they cried hearing the choir sing. Music teachers praising their natural blend. Vocal coaches shocked that a small barangay group in the mountains could produce such powerful harmony. Someone wrote, "These voices, they carry history," another said. "This is what the world needs, real music from real people." It wasn't long before European media outlets picked it up. A popular music channel in Austria reacted to the video and called it the most authentic choir performance of the decade. A newspaper in Germany wrote, "This is the sound of humanity." And then came the biggest surprise. A prestigious music festival in Europe, the Harmonia Folk Arts Festival, sent an invitation. They wanted the choir to perform live, all expenses paid. All 20 members. They even wanted to feature them in a documentary called Voices of the Earth. The barangay captain read the email 5 times, thinking it might be a scam. The choir members laughed at the idea, thinking it was impossible. How would farmers leave their fields? How would vendors leave their stalls? How would drivers pay their bills? But the festival insisted. Sponsors stepped in. Donations came from across the Philippines and abroad. OFW sent messages saying, "Please let them go. Let them show the world who we are." Soon, passports were processed, travel documents prepared, clothes borrowed, jackets donated. And one humid morning, the choir, barefoot singers who had once only sung to survive hardship, boarded a plane for the very first time. Many cried during takeoff. Some prayed. Others clutched rosaries gifted by their children. When they landed in Austria, they stood trembling inside the airport, overwhelmed by the cold air and bright lights. The festival organizers greeted them with flowers. The choir was speechless. During rehearsals, other performers, trained singers from prestigious schools, were stunned. "Where did you train?" they asked. Mang Titi answered, "Say, Daggett Po." Alingbeth smiled. "Sup, Palangi Po." The Europeans didn't understand. Not at first. But when they heard the choir sing, they felt it. The depth, the pain, the joy. The years of sacrifice wrapped inside every note. When the festival night arrived, the hall was packed. Thousands of people. Cameras everywhere. Journalists lined up. The Filipino choir stood backstage trembling. Adults who had never performed in front of more than 100 people. As the lights dimmed, the host announced, "From a small barangay in the Philippines, the choir who touched the world." They stepped into the spotlight. Their first note rose softly, like a whisper from the earth. People leaned forward. Their second note rose higher, trembling with emotion. Soon, the entire hall was drowned in harmony, raw, powerful, soul-shaking harmony. Some audience members cried openly. Some closed their eyes. Others held hands. This wasn't music. It was life. When they finished, there was a moment of stillness. Then the loudest standing ovation of the entire festival. People clapped, shouted, stomped their feet, begging for more. The choir members cried on stage, overwhelmed, clutching each other for strength. News outlets wrote about them the next day. The Filipino choir that made Europe cry. The voices born from struggle. A harmony stronger than poverty. Tour invites poured in. Collaborations, TV appearances. Even a European recording studio offered to help them produce an album. But the choir wanted only one thing: to go home. When they returned to the Philippines, their entire barangay waited at the shore, cheering, waving banners, crying, singing. Children ran to them. Families hugged them like heroes. They weren't just fishermen anymore. Not just tricycle drivers, not just vendors, not just farmers. They were living proof of something bigger. That talent doesn't belong only to the rich. that music doesn't need perfection, only truth. That the world listens when Filipinos sing not just with their voices, but with their hearts. And from that day on, the barangay choir continued singing in the same old barangay hall, under the same flickering lights, with the same plastic chairs. But now they sang with the knowledge that somewhere in Europe, people still listened. People still cried when they heard their voices. People still shared their video telling others, listen, this is what real music sounds like. This is the sound of the Philippines. And for the choir, that was enough. More than fame, more than money, more than awards. Because in a world that often overlooks the ordinary, they had found their place not on a grand stage, but in the hearts of people across the globe. A small barangay choir that reminded millions what true beauty sounds like.